What's going on, everybody? It's Ron Brown, LMT, the People's Fitness Professional, aka Soul Brother number one, reporting for duty. And I am here this evening with Dr. Paul Dyer, emotional scientist. And we're here to talk about some things. He's the emotional scientist. His focus is the brain and, you know, the central nervous system, right? And, I think that it's important to have this discussion with someone who knows the science, because I'm just trying to figure out right now what is wrong with black people. What is wrong with black people? I would like to know. I am peace God, Dan X the GOAT. Peace God, peace God. Um yeah, so I'm just trying to figure this out because I think we're all really trying to figure this out. So Dr. Dyer, you have a slide here. So before we go into the slide, I want to get your thoughts on this subject, and then we'll go right into the slide.
Absolutely. One of the things that this is going to be so controversial amongst Black people is that they're not understanding the science. They're not understanding the data. They're not understanding themselves. And you can flip it all three with, if you don't understand yourself, then you're never going to understand the science and you're never going to understand yourself. It's so like a pancake, right? And I understood when people start to dive into the historical issues that Black people have had historically, right? And when new people start to become aware of the information that has happened in the past, in their 30s, in their 40s, that they've never known before, I don't know what reason why they didn't know it. I don't know what caused them not to know it. But because they're now knowing it, they're projecting it into a society of the now. And you don't do that with information. You don't do that with data. You don't do that with yourself. So many Black people systematically put themselves into a systematic racism of issues, right? Like, so I'll give you, for instance, we could talk about redlining till the cows come home. It has happened. It did happen. Is it happening now? It's not part of the system. It's just part of the history. There's a difference. So when we talk about national racism and systematic racism, they're not the same. Because national racism, yeah, we have to concede to the fact that there are people who are racist. Okay. Oh, I like the Giants. There are people who don't like the Giants. I get it. It's a matter of fandom, right?
Right.
It's not a fact. You don't like the Giants. I like the Giants. But does that put upon you to say that historically we should never like the Giants because of what they did or what sports did with athletics and Blacks and things like that? We're way past that. If you're still holding on to a Jackie Robinson entering the league, which he wasn't the first Black person into the league, if you're still holding on to when he entered the league and how that was systematically push Blacks out of the league, we're in 2025.
Right, but wouldn't there be some remnants of that history kind of
No,
like rolling over into the future?
no, there is no rollover. Issues roll over because of personal issues, not systematic issues. there's the nuance of the differences. There's no rollover, because we have understood what was. We're not going to whitewash our history. That's not the issue. We're not whitewashing our history. We're not whitewashing what has happened to Black people in the past. But the key word is the past, and it's now in the future. So if you're still holding on to things that has happened in the past, and you're bringing forth that idealization,
okay,
or that ideology to now, that's you doing it. It's not the system doing it. So you're still holding on to, I didn't get the job because I'm Black. You didn't get the job because you're not qualified.
Well, in some cases you are qualified for the job. However, they are gonna cater to their demographic. And I learned that in the fitness industry. So like I'll be one, this what you want to call Black man in the fitness industry doing what I do. However, there's like 10 Italian people, let's say, for instance, in a highly Italian populated area. They're gonna pick the Italian before they pick me. Now, it could be because they want to cater to the demographic as well.
Yeah, but that's more tribalism than it is racism. Certain people will like to stick with their own. That isn't racism. That's tribalism.
Wouldn't that be also biasness, though?
Yeah.
Well, you can call it biasness, but sometimes certain people like to stick together. The problem we have with Black people is that they don't stick together, so they feel like it's against them.
That's a double-edged sword, Dr. Dyer. Peace.
Peace, Mikey. Because what I'm saying is that Italians will visit Italian shops, no matter how far. They like their Italian shops, and they will support their Italian shops. Black people don't support each other, so they think it's systematic racism because there's no shops in their area. Well, that sounds like a you problem, because you could go to a Black shop. You just don't want to drive. You just don't want to transport yourself. You just don't want to take the time out for your travel. That's a personal problem.
Well, I want to make this statement that due to systematic racism at a certain point in history that did exist, that did put our people behind.
Correct. There were roadblocks.
Right.
There were detours. There were all these things that were put in front of. You're correct about that.
Right. So that's where I'm talking about. That's another thing I'm talking about as far as rollover, because now we are feeling the remnants of what happened there in the past.
No,
by not having certain businesses and things like that. And we're not able. Pardon me. We're not able to come together, unify.
No,
because of
if you're not able to come together unified, that's a you problem. That's a we problem. That's an us problem.
Can I add to that, Dr. Dyer, before you proceed? To credit to what Ron is saying, the traumas of systemic racism and what Black people have endured, that the ghost of the slave field still echoes on. The conditions, the lessons that have been passed down. And I get what you're saying. We are in the future of 2025, years over, but those old feelings, people hold on to them. Those old, it still resonates. What they see on television, police shootings and stuff like that. We should be outraged, when crime happens in our community also. But
so the residents, if you're going to hold on to all the residents, then when do you move forward? That's like true. Saying I was in a divorce. I got divorced. I will never marry again. That seems absolutely ridiculous because it didn't work out for whatever reason. It doesn't mean you should never have another mate again. So if you're going to apply residence, to your life, then when do you move forward? That's a personal issue.
You're right about that. But yeah, you're right about that. But then you gotta look at the education system too. It conditions the people to think a certain way. Like that this is why it's important that we appreciate groups like the Moors and others who tell people that your history, the genesis of your history, is not slavery. So when a child goes to school, the first thing they learn about is George Washington, Christopher Columbus, and then there was slavery and Lincoln freed the slaves. So that's their first introduction to finding their place in this world. You understand? Like, say if they don't have knowledge of self from their parents or whatnot, that's what they believe. Like, I'm born black, I'm destined for failure and such and such.
But you're not destined for failure. That's the problem. You were destined because of a situation that happened in the time it happened. Moving forward, let's move forward. If you're still resonating with what has happening in the past and you're holding on to it like an anchor, then you're never moving forward. You're going to stay stuck. You're going to stay stuck in your own mental defect, your own emotional defect.
Okay. Yeah, you're speaking about it from a emotional sciences perspective. Yeah, I get it. Okay. So now you have a slide presentation here. So I'm gonna open this up. Okay.
So we have to look at this. So the percentage of population, right? We're about 12.6. Everybody can see 12.6 of a population in the United States, which is about 300 million people, right? So with the population, understanding what a populace is, right? So, because when you look at the other data that I'm going to put towards you, it's going to resonate that how's that systematically when you're doing it to yourself, right? Population, knowing what your population is of the whole of 300 million, 59% white, 18.9 Hispanic and Latino, right? And let's go to the next one. Oh, I don't know if that's... So when we talk about what the psychology is of the population, we have what you call the mirror effect. Individuals unconsciously imitate the behaviors and emotions and attitudes those around them. Significantly influences the social interactions of self-perception. So in your neighborhood, you are mirroring the effects of who these people are and what they contribute to a society effect. You're doing it. You can say, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be that heroin addict. I don't want to be that crack addict. I don't want to be that type of person. I want to move above it. That has nothing to do with systematic. If you adhere to the mirror effect, then you see yourself as that. That doesn't happen in white neighborhoods. That doesn't happen in other neighborhoods who are quiet. Remember, black neighborhoods are very loud and noisy. I wrote a paper on how chaos is created by the environment, but it's also generated by the people in the environment to try to drown out the noise that creates more chaos. The loud music, the loud talking. They say, well, that's how black people talk. That's how we communicate. Okay, it's not working. Okay, the loud communication across the street, among the street, in the house, doesn't create a harmonious atmosphere for calmness. It generates a chaotic atmosphere for you to fall into a fear-based mode, fight or flight.
Dr. Dyer. So basically, you're saying you become a product of your environment, basically.
You can become a product of your environment if you adhere to the mirror effect. But if you don't want to, it's a choice. If you don't believe you have a choice, that's not systematic. No white person put that on you. You did that. If your streets are dirty, you did that. Because we could clean up our neighborhoods, but if it's just trash on trash, we did that. How does white people say how does white people tell us to throw trash on our streets? White people don't tell us to do that. White people don't say this is to blare our music from our cars and from our households. White people don't tell us to do that. So why do we do it? We do it because we do it and it creates the chaos. There's no Bloods and Crips in white neighborhoods. Why is that? It's not because they're not looking for the money. They're looking for the chaos to control the chaos and to prosper from the chaos. Gang violence happens in chaos. Gang violence doesn't happen in non-chaos environment. It happens in chaos environment. It that's where it breeds. So that's not systematic. That's opportune. That's an opportunistic. That's capitalism, actually. You know, gangs look at things as opportunistic as capitalism. I'm going to feed off of this so I can gain from this. That's capitalism. How's that systematic?
Wow. That's a good point. That's a good point. But you're also talking about, you know, that part or that sect of the community. Now, and we're talking about gangbangers, but what about the other parts of the community that aren't
part of that?
Yeah, exactly. You know, the majority of the community is actually not into criminal activity and
exactly
things
so
like that.
Why do they let it happen?
Because normally they are some of the people are afraid, some people are afraid, and then there's
if you keep people in a fear-based living social environment, then they will only react into survival mode. We know that part of the brain. If I can keep you in survival, then you can only adhere to the power structure. Who has the power? Not who has the education, who has the knowledge, who has the power to control my life or death. You adhere to that. That's what you are. That's what you're basing your living substance about. I'm going to walk this certain way because I don't want to disturb the violence that could come upon me. So you allow it to happen as long as you say nothing.
Right, but then there's a code in the hood and all of that about, you know, you can't snitch and all that type of stuff as well. So
that's bullshit. And that's why systematic racism doesn't apply. Right? That's a fear base. So if you're going to call snitches get stitches and all that stuff, then you are adhering to your own demise in your own environment, in your own fear.
You're right about that, because that was taught to us since nursery. Remember Tattletale?
Yeah. So, and actually that's my pop raised me like that. Don't snitch. Like he was serious about that.
Yes, you know.
It's like if you get in trouble with your friend, if y'all do something and you get in trouble with that your friend, then you know, and you get popped, you go to jail.
Yeah, eat them 30 years alone.
Yeah.
No,
now, logically, does that make sense?
I would say this. It does. Why? Because if I'm doing a crime, I know what I'm getting into. I know what I'm getting myself into. So if I'm getting into a crime with someone else and I get caught and that other person doesn't get caught, then that's on me at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Because you were in the crime.
Because I got it. I was aware of what I was doing. I know if I did this crime, I'm gonna get caught.
So
Well,
where's
that participant?
So where's that systematic? Where's the systematic racism in that?
The systematic racism in that would be ain't no
that's on us.
Right. That sounds like it's on us.
But Dr. Dyer is not to play devil's advocate, and I'm glad you mentioned that. Gangs were birthed from chaos, right? A lot of the times within that chaos, as they said, it birthed gangs, but it also gave birth to tribalism and family, because some of these individuals that come from that are part of these gangs either come from broken homes or victims of whatever sexual assault, and they find others to gather with outside of their family.
But we're not the only people that suffer this. So
no, of course.
Let's not get it twisted. Like we're the only people that suffers sexual molestation or mental disorder or drug addiction.
Families. Yeah.
We're not. So if we extrapolate that, and remember, people, I'm going to tell you something. Being an emotional scientist, being a scientist, I do research on all platforms, on all levels. So it's not like I'm getting a source from a source. I'm getting sources from many different sources to put together my data. It's not just a data. It's not just from the census. It's not just from hearsay. It's I've been on the ground. I've talked to people. I've interviewed people. I've talked to people. I remember an incident when I was in Baltimore where Baltimore PD detectives, a lot of shootings that happened in the streets, they would actually call me down. And it was a young boy that was lying in the streets, 14 years old. He got shot down by somebody else, right? And this mother came and this was like 1 a.m. This mother came and she's sprawling all over her child saying, I can't believe my child is shot. What are you going to do about it? First of all, where were you when he's 14 being out at 1 a.m.?
Real quick, hold that thought because I want to address this question. There's a statement down here and statement here. So now this is a good point. Personal responsibility versus social responsibility is not an either or dichotomy. Settler colonialism removed our autonomy and have used systematic oppression to destruct our communities. Hence, this is why we're in a position where we have to create gangs and things like that to survive. So this is a great point. So another thing from my boy Cosmology Bay. I think that's Cosmology Bay. What's up, brother? I haven't seen you on here in a while. Where you been? The actual lesson was you on because Paul Dyer's on. Okay, now I get it. All right. You like Dr. Paul Dyer. Okay. The actual lesson was if you get in trouble by yourself, there will be nobody to tell on you. Right. There we go. Do my dirt about my lonely. Peace. The last year there were 377 murders in NYC. 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, we were averaging 1,800. The fear is captured on video and monetized by the media. Boom. Boom.
And I wanted to add this, Dr. Dyer, before you continue. I'm not trying to make this a struggle Olympics as saying blacks are the only one who have these issues, because problems don't have any borders. It touches all communities. But within our community, as cosmology say, we had many onslaughts placed upon us. You understand what I'm saying? Like the influx of crack, heroin,
Right.
like somehow the drugs and diseases always find a way to our community.
Okay,
And it's concentrated in.
so Mikey, have you done crack?
Hell no.
Okay. That seems fascinating because we know Mikey Fever grew up in a situation that is not healthy. If you listen to Mikey Fever, if you heard him speak, if you heard Ron Brown speak, they've grown up in situations in neighborhoods that was afflicted by all the bullshit. And yet, I wonder how come they're not crack addicts.
Because crack is whack. Man,
Wait a minute. So you're saying it's a choice?
It is a choice. I would say, yeah, for sure.
It's a choice. If you're weak,
okay, so you can't blame it on systematic racism because it's a choice. Now, I understand that most people has a low mental dimension on their thought process because they're grown up in chaos and they have a very few adaptations to have a prefrontal cortex to allow them to what you call be deductive reasoning, which is caused by the mirror effect. So I'm going to just associate myself with people I see who I think I want to belong to. But that's a mental defect. Now, if you're just learning about your African history or the Black history and all the things that happened in the past, yes, it's detrimental. Yes, it's horrific. Again, we're not whitewashing the history of America. We're talking about your choices that you're making now, which is, I don't think this is showing up too well, but here, the Black people make up 12.2% of the U.S. population, right? Out of the population, 26.6 total arrests include 51.2% of the murder arrests. The murder arrest is not against other white people or against other people, it's against each other. So how's that systematic? If we're murdering ourselves, if we were murdering other people, then we have a problem and it can be solved. But we're murdering ourselves. We're not even murdering we're not murdering Jews, we're not murdering Islamic, we're not murdering white people, we're murdering ourselves. That's not systematic, that's problematic.
Urban cleansing, self-hatred. That's what it is. Not thinking correctly.
It's self-hatred. And that self-hatred comes with, when you look at 2023, the shooting revealed in complex pictures, approximately 40% of civilians shot being white. 40%. No one ever talks about that in the Black community. Now, they have the majority of people, but 40% of them are being shot. 20% is Black. But we only highlight the Blacks being shot. Whites are being doubled and being shot.
Well, I would say the reason would be because of what you stated earlier, as in the white population is more than double than the Black population.
Right. But when you take 20% of Blacks being shot and 40%, so we can't say Blacks are being shot more than whites. That's a lie. White people are being shot by cops too. By double. So
yeah,
that whitewashes or cancels out the police are only hunting Blacks. That's not true. They're shooting people. 40% of them are white.
Dr. Dyer, I agree with you saying going off the data and statistics that you show. But, I'm going to say this. And again, this is my perspective from my observation, not Ron Brown's, not Dr. Dyer's. I believe the black struggle became profitable. It's romanticized.
It's romanticized by blacks, not by whites. Here's the thing.
I think both. I think both. White corporations, white media corporations,
yes,
they sensationalize and they make profit off of it. They do.
Well, I was getting to that, Ron. Black people have been the most studied of types of people throughout history. They've been the most studied of who, what, why, when, how, when, all that stuff. All those things that you think you're doing, it's been studied. It's been outlined. It's been an outliner. And it has been what you call not just sensationalized, but it has been social media captured into a profit form. But we allow it to happen when we do it to ourselves. When we have rap people with their pants sagging in their way, sensationalizing, calling our own women bitches and hoes, is that white people saying they should use those lyrics?
It could be the corporation behind them telling them to go ahead and push it.
Yeah,
But so if you're an artist, you adhere to that. Is that a white person?
If you want to get, I get what you're saying, 100%.
If you're going to adhere to that because of the monetary value, then you're selling out your own self to the black community, which is the problem.
I'm gonna be. Can I add on to that? What you're saying? As we said, executives are behind them who told them we will market you. You get a bigger bag, as they put it, more financial funding. But yes, we do it to ourselves, because I'm not criticizing another brother out here. I'm not a fan of Tyler Perry's art, because I think, to me, it's pure coonery, and it he found his niche. It always paint people in a bad light, and I think it's time to I'm with you with that. We got to change our narrative.
Tyler Perry's having black people dancing in blackface. That's what he does, and the buffoonery and the socialization he has with black people, I disagree with. I disagree with how he is sexualizing and pimping them out. I think there's an issue with that, but black people don't see it. They see it as comedy. They see it as some type. I don't know how you see yourself as comedy. If you see yourself as comedy, then you're a comic. I'm not a comic.
And we have been desensitized as well within our community, where we find our pain to be relatable and entertaining.
Because we're the coon dancing on the box,
shucking and jiving.
Shucking and jiving. And as long as we get our money, yes, sir, I'm gonna dance. Come on now.
And I want to add it. And they try to disrespect NYP just to go sit on DJ Vlad's couch. Don't think I didn't hear. I'm listening. Let's leave it. You know what I'm talking about, Ron. You know what I'm talking about, Ron.
I don't know.
You know who I'm talking about, Ron.
I don't know. You gotta let me know later. But so now back to where we were going with this. Now you have more of a slide, right? Now I have questions, but if you want to go to the slide, let's go there.
No, I have questions.
Okay. As an emotional scientist, how do we define psychological trouble in the black community?
Well, I was actually in the end of this slide, I was going to get to that, because we're so delusional about a disillusion. We're so delusional about our illusion. We're so disillusioned by our illusion of who we are.
Okay.
The reason why we have such an illusion of who we are is because, one, most people never knew our history. And when they find out our history, they're thinking they're projecting the 1866 history on the 2025 history. That's not the case.
I like how you put that. Okay. All right.
Right? You have an opportunity. We all have an opportunity to become more than what we are. And it's in our opportunity that creates a human civic being that can prosper or have a demise. Everyone has the same option. We have the same educational option as the other. We have the same welfare option as the other. We have the same wealth option as the other. We just don't grab a hold of it together. That's our disillusion. Like, to invest in a Black-owned company, I don't know if they're going to succeed. What does that have to do with you investing? I'm trying to make money. Okay, I get it. You're trying to make money. That's capitalism. I get it. I believe in that. I totally believe in that. I totally believe in people making money. But your morality statement is you believe in Black people, but you won't invest. Interesting.
Wow. Sui Lee, where you been? Everybody's coming out for Dr. Paul Dyer. The what you call it? The old heads for NYP, the beginners, like the people from back when we first started. What's up, Sui Lee? And creator of the Boundaries universe. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go ahead. Pardon me.
But to be a quality person takes what? Quality investment. If you don't invest in your own personal child and and if you don't invest in your own personal neighborhood, your community, I'm not saying invest in $1,000. I'm talking about, I have an idea. I want to do this. I want to start a podcast. I think it would be this. How about $5? Oh, I don't know about that. But they'll get $5 at Starbucks. So how is that systematic?
Because it's tangible. Because people like the finished product. We're accustomed to finished product. Everything is instant gratification.
We are accustomed to finished product because we are accustomed to slave mentality. I'm willing to work for the master because I know the outcome. I'm not willing to invest in my person who ran away who might succeed.
Damn.
That's dope, Dyer.
All right. Now, I want to go with the next question. What unique emotional patterns and mental health challenges have you observed among Black people compared to other groups?
So let's go back to this slide then.
Mm-hmm.
There is so who controls the wealth? I'm not going to get into that. We're going to go into examples of psychology of dysfunction. The impaired ability to think and plan, the avoidance of behavior and chronic fear of threats, substance abuse, aggressive behavior as maladaptive coping, decreasing motivation, confidence, and engaging with life opportunities. If you
hold on, damn, that kind of like, that's like spot on right there. Okay.
Yeah, that's deep. Did he freeze up? I believe he froze up.
No, he's still there. You okay?
No, I'm here. I just want you to let that sink in.
Yeah.
Because when we talk about impaired ability to think and plan, it goes back to entrepreneurship. Many blacks have a fear of entrepreneurship. They would rather work hard for 80 hours a week than come up with a fucking idea.
That's true.
Yo, for real, man. Yeah. I see it with my family. That whole thing is like go to, either work for the government or
go to school.
Go to school and
it's stable. It's stable.
Yeah.
It's stable.
You know what's so crazy? I could be my father was an entrepreneur. Well, the key word I used was. And he had multiple businesses until his final one collapsed. And he always used to say that, yeah, I want you to go to school, get your education, but after a while, I want you to open your own business.
You know what's scary about you, Mikey, is that because you're from Haiti, outside of the American,
I was born here,
African culture. I know you were born here, but your father is from Haiti, and they always thought about owning their own. Most African Americans or American Africans who were born here, they can't see themselves owning anything that has nothing to do with the white man. It is a fear to
them. I don't know. I hear what you're saying, but I disagree because I know a lot of Americans.
I'm talking percentage.
Oh, percentage. Again, I know a lot of Americans that own businesses too, Dr. Dyer, that I come across.
And you know what? The one person that lit the fire underneath me to start my own business is my pop. My pop is an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
But the rest of my family, as he said, percentage. The rest of my family,
government jobs. It's the same thing here. They get government jobs. That's it, bro.
Yeah.
They can stay there. Because you're right about that. Because although I may work in the corporate world, I always go in like some kind of like a 1099 on my own thing, like a C2C.
Absolutely.
Like you pay me, and still then it feels awkward sometimes. But it's a business agreement, but it still feels awkward, like because I'm like, I want my own building,
right.
But if you look at the avoidance behavior of chronic fear of threats, that's Black systematic behavior to themselves. I don't want to be better than a white man because the white man may burn me out. Okay. So I'd rather not do and just work for him and make him rich.
Right.
But because I've also seen how when I ask my family and friends for support, they don't support me, they ridicule me. So it goes back to the chronic fear and threats. See, again, that's systematic racism against ourselves.
All right, we got somebody in the chat. NOK. Who are you, NOK? Is this a dummy account? That's my question for NOK. NOK, are you somebody I'm familiar with a dummy account? Anyway, without a comprehensive social theory that addresses the underlying issues of our psychological dysfunction, sounds like tough hate disguised as love. Capitalism is fundamentally racist in practice. Okay.
That's okay. Let's break that down. I've heard this question phrased a different way. Issue with psychological dysfunction sounds like tough hate. I don't want to be your tough sounding psychological doctor, but you are basing your life existence on fear because you're asking it from a fear-based idealization. And in that statement, you're afraid. In this statement suggests fear.
Okay.
Because what you're saying is that you're just afraid to fall in love again. Because you've been hurt before. And putting into romantic terms, then you would never have a great love ever again. I had a great love. It left me. I don't know if I could do it ever again.
Okay. I want to go on to the next question. So, do you believe these issues are primarily individual, cultural? Oh, well, you already said that. Okay. How does the legacy of
there it is.
Yeah.
Here, look up culturally.
Mm.
You read it, Ron. Culturally identify rejection. Denial or rejection of own culture, embracing dominant group worldview. They can't see a worldview.
So wouldn't that be basically taking on the mindset of white supremacy or
no? We're
white
taking
worldview?
our own view. We have to stop thinking we're climbing over white supremacy and just climbing. When you beat someone in a race, you're not beating them because you're faster than them. You're just trying to be faster, and you just so happen to be faster than them. If you're only racing to be faster than them, then you're going to eventually lose. If you're working on being faster to your capacity, then beat whoever you beat. It's not because they're not fast. It's because you're working on your capacity to be fast. Usain Bolt just is fast. He's not faster than other people. He's flipping fast.
Right. So he's not looking to be faster than the white man. He's looking to be just as fast, the fastest person on the planet. It doesn't matter who's in front of him or the side of him, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Right. It's just he's just working on being fast.
Right.
If you're always constantly being faster than another person, then you're going to eventually slow down.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
Yeah. See no competition. You're your own competition.
Health risks, increased risk of heart disease, obesity, and substance abuse. How many Black people, statistically, it's very high because we already know that from what my previous statement is that we abuse substance more than white people. Percentage-wise. We make up 12%. American people, white people make up 56%, and we abuse it the most out of our percentage.
Okay.
It all comes down to the marketing and narrative because, it's cool. If you listen to today's lyrics and songs, they tell them to take prescription pills and drink this and drink that, down to marketing alcohol and all that.
But here's a tricky question for you, though, Mike. Is it that they're trying to socially engineer our people to do that, or they're just catering to
Wait a minute.
Catering.
Ron,
hold on,
no.
You got to listen to what I'm saying. What I'm
saying. Let him drop.
Let me say it. Are they? What was that? What did I say?
Social engineering.
Are they socially engineering our people to do this, or are they just meeting the needs of the people?
That's a good one right there.
Are we
That's a good one.
animals in a cage? Are you an animal in a cage?
No, physically no, but many are in a mind.
Okay, well, again, you're making my point, Mikey. That's not systematic. That's a you problem. We're trying to free your minds to free your body. Malcolm X said it. People have said it. Garver said it. People have said it. Free your minds so you can free yourself. If you're still caged mind, then you're a slave. You're a slave to what you call the systematic issues of roadblocks. Roadblocks are going to give you detour signs, right? They're not going to give you a harder test in education than anyone else. If you don't study for it, that sounds like you made the test harder for yourself. If you're not going to prepare yourself, whether it be physically, mentally, spiritually, you made it harder. I didn't make it harder. I just created a roadblock. But if you're going to make it hard on yourself, then don't study for it. Don't prepare for it. Don't train for it. Don't ask help for it. If you're not going to do all those things, yes, it's hard.
Dr. Dyer, I'm not trying to go down a pseudo route, but don't you believe that Black people have a addictive personality, receptors in their mind that embraces these drugs like menthol and stuff like that? Marijuana.
You asked me a question. I did do a study on about addictive personalities because of the slave mind, and the slave mind will produce addictive personalities. So it's almost like who has the slave mind and who doesn't have the slave mind. So my always perspective was, let's educate them so they have the information, so now they can have a real choice, so they can get out of the slave mind, so they won't be predicated on slave mentality and be constricted on what has been introduced in their life. So the short answer is you have a choice. You're either going to learn or you're not. You're going to train or you're not. You're going to prepare or you're not. I don't know. I don't know what else to tell people except if you're not going to train, learn, educate, and prepare, then you're stuck in your own systematic racism in your own mind. And that's what's really incarcerating you. So you're already incarcerated.
And also, I believe, I think Ron can attest to this as well. Our people some are addicted to drama and trauma. If you go right now
that's the chaos. That's the chaos.
Exactly. If you go on TikTok right now on IG, there is always some kind of live going on when people are constantly cursing at each other. They trauma bond and they go back to cursing and threatening one another. Like, it can never be a civil discourse. You know, it's a lot of irrationality involved, and then the toxicity must seep into that. Like, there's no logic behind it.
Well, if you look down at the fourth thing of called social isolation is reduced help seeking, avoidance of community support. If you don't know what you're doing, if you think you know what you're doing, how about ask for support? How about ask for help? If you're going to not consistently and not ask for help and say, I got this, I'm all this, I am this, I am that, and persona of a machoism, you're going to end up in prison or dead.
You're right.
You know what though? Social isolation. Now, for me, right? I try to not try, but I have like a support, like a network. But it's like, for me, it's hard to ask or like to tell other men my problems, because other men have their own problems.
Same thing here.
Like, it's hard to, you know what I mean? Especially in the Black community where it's like, I got my own shit going on. You know what I mean? Like, I ain't trying to hear your problems. I got my own shit going on. So it's like,
but if you don't tell your problems to a person, then they won't feel that they could tell their problems to a person.
I have that problem. And I'm gonna be real, I'm gonna be uncandid. I had a fender bender like a week or two ago, still recovering. And I think Ron was like the second person I called, and I was like, damn, how do I explain this? This is gonna sound crazy. But I felt like human at that moment. Like, you could talk to other people, but like talk to a brother. I was like, this is gonna sound crazy. And it just felt like, at first trying to be macho about it, but I felt like, damn, man, what is going on? And he was just telling me things he'd been there, this and that. And I was like, man, I gotta figure this out.
I was just in a hospital from PTSD, having a issue with my brain, neurological firing that was going all kinds of craziness, and I put myself in the hospital until we figure out what is going to be good for me, medication, whatever helps me going to see myself being healthy. I know I didn't feel healthy. I know I wasn't healthy. I know I was not in a good mental space for reasons. But I put myself in the hospital because I'm asking for help. And I'm not going to leave until I get the help I received. If I don't do that, then I'm not here. I'm not the person I want to be. I'm not living the life I'm chosen to live. So I'm okay with feeling vulnerable or whatever, how you want to call it, because my life is more important than my ego.
Mm-hmm. That's a fact. That's a fact. That's a fact. I went through something similar. So I won't say what happened with me, whatever. But yeah. I decided, I'm not going to tough it out that day. Nah, I'm not toughing it out today. I'm going to get some help. But the next one, what was the next one? We got about 2 more minutes. We're gonna have to do a part 2 of this. This is a very important subject. You have a lot of slides prepared, but I guess we will have to conclude now, unless Dr. Paul Dyer, you have anything else to say.
No, what I want to say is that there's no such thing as systematic racism. If you think there is, you're stuck in a cage. You're stuck. And just you thinking that there's systematic racism means you should ask for help.
Yo, that was funny. Yo, on that note, man, thank you, Dr. Paul Dyer, for coming out this evening. I really appreciate you.
Thank you, Doc.
Hold on. Black psychology, severe trauma base. I think that's what Dr. Paul Dyer was alluding to at some point. This dude sounds like he's okay. So
Somebody just not agreeing who doesn't know.
What did you say?
Disagree.
Yeah.
Immature comment.
No, what did you say?
Doesn't matter.
No, read it.
This dude sounds like he still needs medical assistance.
That's what it said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it differs from the narrative.
I'll talk to this person because there are probably many people out there who may feel the same way. I'm probably the most black unicorn person that you will ever meet. Not only do I hold 4 PhDs, 5 masters, 4 undergrads, been in the military for 15 years, studied human behavior, studied the science of physics and mental health and brain science, but I also applied to the physical prowess of human beings that are living on the streets. If you think that I am wrong, I'm not asking you to say why I'm wrong. I'm asking you to produce more data that you would say that this refutes what he has said. That's all. Because as a scientist, I'm willing to listen to other data that someone may come up with. I don't know. Maybe I didn't read that study. Maybe I didn't see that study. Maybe I didn't come across that study. I would love to know what study you're referring to that will allow you to allude to your statement. But if you're only going to allude to your statement for your own emotional, personal feelings, then that makes sense, because emotionally and feelingly, you're stuck in chains.
Yeah.
NOK, were you just hold on? NOK, is this a dummy account? Is this your second YouTube page? NOK.
I believe it is.
I think it is. If this is your second account, NOK, I know who you are.
Look at you, little detective.
Hold on. I can list the plethora of citations, but that's not the real issue with you denying systematic racism. Okay. NOK. You come back. We're gonna do this again. This part 2. We're gonna keep going on with this discussion. And pretty much that's it, man. Peace to everybody on the chat. I really appreciate you. Thank you, Dr. Dyer, for coming out this evening. Mikey Fever. And we are out of here. Peace.